Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I interview Katie Storey. I'm very excited about this one, guys, because you know what they say, when you put something out into the universe will find it and bring it to you. I don't know if that's exactly what they say, but you know what I mean, right? Like when you put it out there, you will attract it. And I've been talking a lot over the past couple of years about my passion for the environment and being sustainable in our design choices. We as designers have so much power and we don't necessarily realize it in the materials we're specifying and selecting. And I know that I've struggled with being smart with my sustainable choices, and I'm trying to educate myself, but sometimes practice is a lot harder than the theory. So this beautiful woman came into my life recently, not physically, obviously always virtual, but Katie Storey, and she is the founder and principal designer of Storey Design, which is a full-service interiors firm based in San Francisco. And she's been recognized, she's been in all the magazines, but she's also the founder of the Good Future Design Alliance, GFDA. And it's an alliance of design and build professionals committed to reducing waste in our design industry. Katie today shares her story of what she went through and how she got to a point where she realized change needed to happen and she wanted to be the vehicle for change and create this alliance. It's still a really small organization. They only have a couple hundred members right now that I believe. I think there's so much power for us to join forces with Katie and really learn so much more about the choices we're making as designers and how we can really make a movement the way that the fashion industry has. I feel like we are ripe for change. And this interview really digs into the issues and some solutions when it comes to being responsible in your design choices. Enjoy this interview with Katie Storey. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Are you looking to expand your network, gain momentum in your business, and be around your tribe of designers or decorators or architects? If you answered yes, then go check out the Collective Workspace. They offer a range of private office suites, flex workspaces, boardroom rentals, and many more perks, along with a trade-only design resource library. Oh, and did I mention a boutique gym? Their flagship space is located in the heart of Toronto. I am here right now in the Design District, with a second location opening up this fall in Mississauga. Go check them out at thecollectiveto.com or go on Instagram at The Collective Workspace, your tour, or take advantage of their free 3-day pass. Okay, Katie Storey, you are here. What a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
But your last name was just so good. Why don't you start off by introducing yourself to everyone who's listening?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun. So yes, I am Katie Storey. I am a San Francisco-based interior designer. I've had my firm for about 8 years here in San Francisco. I'm also the founder of the Good Future Design Alliance, which is an alliance of design and build professionals who are on a mission to reduce our waste by 50% over 5 years.
That's amazing. I love that. I don't even know how I discovered you. How did we connect? Was it through Instagram? It was through thing. I did something and you were like, oh, do you remember?
Yeah. So it was through Instagram. Oh, Instagram. You connect with anyone in a second around the world. But we were also in a feature on sustainable designers.
Yes, that's right.
Earlier this year. Yes.
Yeah.
We were with a
Awesome.
few
And you
others.
reached out and I was like, oh yes, please. Like, I don't know. Like, oh, I can't wait. I can't. I'm so excited to talk to you about all of this. I'm so passionate about this, but I don't have anything to work with. Like I feel strongly about sustainability in design, and my listeners know that, my Instagram followers know that. And I try to educate what I can, but I don't have a lot of knowledge. I don't have a lot of answers. I struggle. You need to help me. I can't wait for all the designers to hear how they can improve. I literally had a podcast interview this morning with one of my students, one of my designers who's done one of my courses. And she even made the comment about how, she's trying to be more conscious in her choices because of the planet and da, 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 da. And so people are talking about it, but I don't think a lot of us even really know what to do. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself because I do want you to tell your story. Like I'm so curious how this Good Future, I might say it wrong, Good Future Alliance, Design Alliance.
Yep.
Good Future Design Alliance, GFDA, right?
Exactly. You got it.
Come on, Rebecca. Have another tea. How you decided to found this or create this alliance? What's been your experience running interior design? I mean, gosh, you West Coast people are so on top of it when it comes to the environment and the world and humanity. And I think we have so much to learn. But maybe just tell a bit more of your story, because I know that it sounds like you had a similar experience to me, where like running your business and you just saw the waste. Mm-hmm. And now I've been in business for about 7 years, almost 8. But before that, I worked for another designer, and I was like a measly little like design assistant. So I would never say a peep, but I remember watching and thinking, what? Why is that going to the landfill? Somebody else could use that sink, that toilet, or that whatever. Right. So why don't you maybe tell us a little bit more? Like, how did you come to create this alliance? And are you still also practicing interior design? Are you doing both? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Sure. Yeah. Interior design is my second career. I had my first career on Wall Street in New York, which was the wrong career for me. But
it's like the opposite of interior design. That's awesome.
But in my 20s, it was fun. But even in that career, I was like dreaming of being an interior designer out in the West Coast. And so I moved to San Francisco and started my design firm. And I have always had a sustainable bent to my life. Like in college, I created an environmental master's program because they didn't have one in school. And then I went and did an environmental major, and then I did an environmental master's. So I have this thread of sustainability through my life. Even on Wall Street, I was with a sustainable investment firm. I should clarify. I wasn't with like the worst of the worst guys. So I have
sort of bad.
Sort of bad. But it was a sustainable investment firm. So I have this thread of sustainability through my life. But then I did the classic thing that many people do when you're starting a business, especially in a very difficult place like the Bay Area, is that I hustled and hustled and hustled and just did what it took to make the business work and to make a name and a brand and all of that for myself. And so over these like 7 years or so of working, I always had a small team because I kind of like the family feeling of a small team. But even with my small team doing dozens of projects a year, hundreds of thousands of square feet a year, we were making a huge impact negatively on the planet, right? So I was hustling and I was doing what needed to get done. This is like, I don't really blame myself because actually the system is set up very much for that to happen, right? You hustle, it's really hard to control your schedule. Jobs come in, jobs don't come in. It's either like fast or famine, or feast or famine in this industry.
Yeah.
So, fast or famine, same. But, so anyway, fast forward like 6 or 7 years into my practice, I was, two things kind of happened within like a month of each other that was really, they kind of solidify like the breaking point for me. And the first one was that I had ordered a sofa from Oakland, which is here in the Bay Area, that was meant to go to my client's house 7 miles away. And instead of going the 7 miles over the bridge, it went over 3,000 miles to North Carolina to their transportation hub and then back. So that was like 7,015 extra miles than what it needs to go.
I have to comment how freaking backwards that is. And I want to let you finish your story, but for anyone who's listening, who's like, that doesn't happen in Canada. That happens in Canada too. Mm-hmm. You think you're in Canadian hardwood, and it is. It's from Canadian trees, but it is shipped to China for processing, and then it's shipped to the US for manufacture or whatever, packaging, mm-hmm. and then it's brought back to Canada. Like, oh, it just gives me chills. It makes me so angry. Anyhow, that is bananas. Yeah. That really is bananas. But I think for the designers listening, like, listen up. This is important. Okay, sorry, carry on. So what did you do? Were you like, what the heck?
Oh my God.
And how did you know that? How would you know that?
Well, I knew it because this was pre-pandemic when things weren't taking 2 years to arrive. But so the sofa was like 6 weeks or something, like MIA. And so I tracked it down. The delivery team wasn't even that helpful. I remember having to make like dozens of calls to find this sofa. Ended up that it was in North Carolina, like I said, and I was furious because not only was it weeks late, it had traveled round trip like 7,000 miles too many. And when you think about that, like sitting on a truck packaged, it's like the labor, the gas, the emissions, like the whole thing is so unnecessary. There's enough work that we all have to do. Like we don't need to be creating more work of like transporting furniture around the country on trucks just for fun, when it could have gone in a blanket on like a flatbed for 5 miles. So it
also to me is like, that feels a little bit like you're duped a little. Like here you are, maybe intentionally, maybe not. You're like, I'm going to buy local. Because so many of us are saying, let's buy local, right? Like 100-mile diet, let's 100-mile design. Yeah. And you're thinking, oh, well, this is made here, so I'll buy it. Little did you know that they're shipping it across the country and back again.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, that was very disappointing. So that happened. And then like a couple weeks later, I was at one of our project installs, a commercial job. So it was like 20,000 square feet of a commercial space downtown. And we had been working on it for quite a long time. But instead of being able to kind of relish in this, like, oh, we did it, we're designing, we're installing, it's beautiful, I was like, oh my God, look at these piles of plastic and styrofoam and packaging peanuts and cardboard. And look at these concrete planters intended for the outdoor patio wrapped in like dozens of feet of plastic. Like concrete planters don't need to be wrapped in plastic. So my team was like unwrapping and doing their thing. And all I could see instead of the beauty were like these piles of garbage. And so between the couch incident and literally this install that were within a matter of weeks of each other, I was just like, this has got to change. Either I have to now change careers for a third time, or, which I really didn't want to do because I love being a designer. I honestly do. Or I was like, I need to work within the industry and see if we can, if starting with myself, if I can have a greener footprint. And then if I can, which I proved that I could, which we can talk about later, like if I can, then we need to scale this up and really make a movement because we need as many people as possible invested in this. As we all know, like the time is now. Every corner of the planet is either on fire or flooded or,
oh my God, yes.
You know, we all know what's happening to the planet. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, preach to the choir, girl. I'm like,
right.
Yes, sign me up. Where do I sign? I love it. I love it. Okay. So here's the question I have for you. I am trying, maybe I could try harder, but I am trying with the knowledge I have to be healthy in my choices. And it's not just about sustainability. It's also about off-gassing in the home and being responsible in the selections I'm making for my clients, but also for my own family, because I'm about to embark on the second half of my reno. And the first half, I was like, I did a video series, like, can I be sustainable and healthy? Like, we'll see. And I did the whole thing. And I quickly stopped talking about it because it was so damn hard. It was so damn difficult that I still am at this crossroads now with my second phase, like with the windows, for example, where I'm at this crossroads of balancing budget and being mindful of the planet or being mindful of my health. I've had mattress companies reach out to me saying, we want you to be a brand ambassador. And I'm like, I can't promote your product because I know that it's not green, it's off-gassing and all the things. But then the alternatives are so slim. And so I get frustrated internally and even with my team. I don't get frustrated. We all kind of get frustrated. We're like, I know you have this really great mission, Rebecca, but I only have like $500 for this item. And the more sustainable local choice is going to be twice as much. Like, what do I do? And so I find that I'm constantly in this position where I have to make a choice, sometimes for myself and sometimes for my clients. And it's usually about balancing the pocketbook. And usually money wins. And unfortunately, that's what, and you know this already, obviously, but like that's what is driving consumerism, is this need for more for less. I don't want to say the names, but the big box stores of the world that are like, why buy that at the store around the corner? You can buy it here, click online, it'll be delivered tomorrow. So I feel sometimes I get very overwhelmed because I care so much and I want to make a difference, but I don't. And I'm sure I hope there's other designers listening right now who are like, yeah, me too, me too, me too. Tell me how I can help, because I do feel as an interior designer, there's this need to be new, fresh, creative. Yeah. Now, I do my best to use, I love vintage furniture. I like to use consignment pieces. That's my go-to because, hey, it's already made its carbon footprint. A lot of these pieces I pick are 100 years old. They're solidly built. They add character. But that gets into the harder materials and finishes. It's like trying to select Canadian or something that's in the U.S. that's our neighbor to the south. And then things start to derail a little bit, like windows. I don't want vinyl windows. Vinyl's the worst, but the alternative is more expensive. Siding for your house, I'm kind of going on a tangent just to say I feel passionate, but I also feel a little bit handicapped because I feel as though the industry, until now anyhow, and I do think it's changing thanks to people like you, but that until now there's been such a push for brand new, replace everything, plastic everything, vinyl everything, which if you know anything about the environment, plastic is just god awful bad usually. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure alternatives, and I want you to share all your knowledge. But and then it's finding the clients also that I try to educate, but you want to find the clients who value and will pay sometimes the premium for product. Fabric, right? Even accessories. I'm always trying to curate, go to antique markets, get a vintage item so that I don't have to go to a big box store and buy a bunch of cheap shit, for lack of a better term, to quickly slap on a shelf. I've had box stores approach me in the past about do a holiday gift guide. We'll feature you in this magazine, pick from our products. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I can't promote you because it just isn't in alignment. I feel it feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Well,
that's a lot of things. Sorry.
No,
I
love it.
Loaded a lot on you. I'm just so excited to talk to you. I want to know what we can do. I mean, am I alone? Do others feel this way?
Oh my God. No. Okay. So that's the thing. You are not alone at all. Like you said, it's getting a tiny bit better. I mean, tiny. Fashion really made a lot of noise a few years ago about their environmental footprint, and fast fashion just kind of blew up. The lid was exposed, all of that. I don't even think that's a phrase. The lid was exposed. That doesn't mean anything. But
know,
like the
totally get the gist.
Oh God.
Funny thing about me, I don't know expressions. If my life depended on it, I make things up all the time. I always get it wrong. I'm like that mom that embarrasses their child. We're like, Mom, that's not how it's said. So it's okay.
Totally.
You're in a safe place with me.
Okay. Well, so like everything was exposed on fashion, and then more and more people started buying resale, thrift store. Vintage came back in a big way. There are all kinds of sustainable vendors for fashion now here in the US. I'm not as well versed in Canada fashion, to be honest, but in the US.
We get everything from the US. We're like a town. Like picture our country is like a little town. But I do think it's amazing. Like products, like I love Rothy's. I'm wearing them today, like recycled. And there's like so many clothing companies in the US that are doing great things that way. And I see that. And that to me is encouraging. So I'm like, if another industry is doing it, it's due for us.
Exactly. Well, so that's the thing. So like fashion did their thing. They're still doing their thing. And bravo. I'm so thrilled that they like caused a real stir years ago. I feel like now is our prime time. And that's kind of what the GFDA is doing. I mean, we're trying not to be negative and like blameful or shameful or anything like that, but we are trying to make a lot of noise about like the issue here. And the issue is enormous. Like the reason you're like, what do I do? Well, how can I be better? Is because it's not easy. If this were easy, everyone would be doing it. Some things are really easy, and we can talk about some of those tips later, but the odds are stacked against us. Like the whole industry is based on consumption and redoing and new and bright and flashy all the time, right? Think about it. It's like there's a color of the year by every paint color or paint company. There's a new fabric of the year. Like now it's boucle. I swear that's going to be out. Like it's not going to work for that long, right? And there are like there's just like,
also, what is with the fabric? Everybody, North Americans, Canadians combined, needing this perfection of like, well, does red wine spill off of it? Because I don't want anything in my house that will stain. It's like, seriously? Any fabric that is treated so that your red wine rolls off of it cannot be healthy for the environment or for you. Like,
exactly.
I don't understand it. I
know. Oh, I do love that.
Make the noise. We need to make the noise. I want to like rattle, but like not be annoying about it.
Yeah, because probably those fabrics are like polyesters or synthetics, or they were treated with that. And those are like they're durable and stain absorbent, but they're 0% healthy. They're 0% biodegradable. We just had one of the things that the GFDA offers is like programming on educational resources and stuff. And we had this great woman last night come in, talk about this biodegradable polymer that she puts into polyester to make polyester biodegradable. It's never going to be like compostable or anything, but she's creating this product to help textiles become more biodegradable. So anyway, that's a slight tangent. But back to like the scope of the project or problem is that like, so here in the US alone, 500 million tons of construction and demo debris end up in the landfill every year, which is just like an enormous, almost like unfathomable amount.
You can't really even picture what it would be. That's just so big. Yeah.
Yeah. 12.2 million tons of furniture end up in the landfills. And we are consuming at 2 times the rate the planet can handle. So there's this great organization, maybe you know of it, called Earth Overshoot Day. We get a lot of assistance in like knowledge and data from them. And so they track, it's so cool. They track like how much we're consuming on the planet. Because in theory, it would last till December 31st. And you're like, great, we consumed enough, like just as much as the planet can replenish. We didn't consume too much or too little. We're in equilibrium and balance, but we're not. And this year, the Earth Overshoot Day was in July. It used to be like November, crept up to October. This year it was in July. So that means, yeah, it's such a cool organization, Earth Overshoot Day. And you can go in and like do your little calculator of like what you're consuming too. So that's great. But the point of this is like this, the problem is enormous. Like, we are consuming so much of it is not necessary, but these cards are like stacked against us because like this is how society is built right now, especially with the pandemic, right? The pandemic shut us into our houses, made Amazon and Walmart and Costco like super rich, like, you know, the richest people on the planet ever. And that's because we had to stay safe, which I do believe we had to stay safe, but it unfortunately just created what I fear that we really have to work towards reversing is like, it just made shopping online so easy so that stuff can come from any corner of the world. And we don't even know where it comes from. And then we just probably dispose of it in a week or whenever we're done with it, right? There needs to be like much more accountability. So what we're trying to do with the GFDA is really, so we're asking designers, builders, architects, landscapers, and makers, because all of us, like, you know, are in conversation every day. Like, you're talking to architects and the builders of your house. I've been following your remodel, you know, all day long, we're talking to each other. And so the more of us that can come together and say, yes, I commit to doing it a different way, and I'm going to educate myself. We have a ton of resources. I'm going to educate, I'm going to network, I'm going to align on projects so that we are more successful. We have a much greater chance. And to your point of...
Katie, 1 second. Pause. I have to change my internet source because it's... Hold on. I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just tethered to my phone. Sometimes the internet is here. Okay. I hope. Okay.
Yeah. Just let me know.
Finish what your thought was.
Yeah. So on that point of like really creating this alliance of all design and build industry professionals, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and like, if you think about the built world around us, like everything you see from that blue wall behind you to your chair, to your house, the windows you're selecting, everything in my room right here that you see, all of it is created. This is going to come off the wrong way, but hear me out on this. All of this is because of us, right? Designers, architects, builders, landscapers, product makers. We're responsible for how cafes look, how they smell, how your offices feel, how your homes feel, all of it. And it's because we put a lot of time and work into designing these spaces. But I think that with this privilege of like a really awesome career, like I said, this is my second career and I love it. I didn't want to have a third career. I want to stay right here and be a designer because it is so fun. It's awesome. But I think that I really see it as like a luxury and a privilege to be able to design spaces both for myself and my clients. And so just like with any privilege in the world right now, there also comes a responsibility, which is that if we are responsible for these built environments, we need to take that extra step and educate ourselves and then educate our clients and say, these choices are going to be more sustainable. This product might take longer, but it's going to be less toxic. This product, if you just let me search a little longer, I'm going to find it on eBay or at a vintage store or somewhere. Like, if you don't need it next week and we can just slow down a little bit and you can trust me to find something like that, that's going to get us there. But my point is like, we need to own our role and really talk to each other and talk to our clients, because then once our clients, I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. Like, they pay our bills and money wins. It always does, right? But if more and more clients are like, great, I'll pay your bill, but I also want to value, or I'll pay your salary, but I also want to value X, Y, and Z, like sustainability issues. And so then we have much greater chance of reducing our impact and like not destroying the planet every single day.
So true. I never really thought of it that way, that we have a responsibility because we have such a we do have such a powerful impact. And I think as interior designers, often we tend to downplay that. We tend to think like we're at the mercy of our clients or we're at the mercy of the industry. Mm-hmm. But really, if you think about it, we have so much power to educate our clients on their options, on the alternatives, it's no different than learning how to educate your client on investing in a custom-made piece of furniture versus something that's from the store. You educate them on the value. They will pay more because you've shown them why. The same goes for any product that you could purchase for whatever reason. And then on the flip side, with the industry and with our trades, I imagine, most designers are the ones buying the products and reselling them to the client. So we have purchasing power that we can say to our suppliers and ask those questions. Well, what do you have a sustainable product? Do you have Canadian hardwood floors that are actually made here? Like, we have to ask the questions. And what I've noticed is like, no one's asking those questions. I mean, people are asking the questions. I don't see it happening a lot. And I have a big community of designers up here in my little corner of the internet. But I don't think that many of us are asking the designers because either A, don't see how powerful we can be, like what our role is. And a lot of the time, we're just trying to get through the job. Yeah. And like, I've caught myself taking the easy route, even though I know it doesn't align with what I want. But I'm not going to, that client wants vinyl floors in their basement, and that's the trend right now. And everyone has to have vinyl. God forbid you have any other material in your basement. Even though I recommended the linoleum, to be fair, the linoleum, which is biodegradable, it's just not sexy as a product. And there weren't that many great options. And so I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to push something. Let's just keep moving on so we can wrap up the job. Yep. So it's a very tricky place to be. But I think you're so right, Katie, is that we have a responsibility, but we actually have so much more power than I think we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. And listen, this is not easy. Like, yeah, we are working for clients, and so for many years, myself included, I was like, oh, whatever you want, we'll make happen. Like, what do you like better? And there definitely needs to be some of that. But I think it is so important to realize, like, people hire you for a reason, right? Because they like your design, because they trust you, because they want to work with you. And so they're looking to you for guidance. It's like if you hired a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant, you would want them to give you all the best information. Like your tax accountant, I'm pretty sure you want all the information. Your doctor about your health, probably the same. Like a lawyer, if for any reason, you want all that information. And so I kind of see our role as the same. So like, educate yourself through somehow. You can join the GFDA and we'll give you tons of resources, but like start looking into these better options so that then you can present talking points to your client. And surely, like, again, this is not going to happen overnight. This is a massive industry with like a massive footprint, 12 million tons of furniture alone, right? Go into the landfill. So like, that's not going to be zero tomorrow. It's probably never going to be zero. But if we can cut back to like 25%, even get to 50%, like that's a huge dent in the problem.
Yeah, totally. I have this dream, Katie. This dream of mine has always been to have my own TV show. But let me tell you about my dream. The dream is to have a TV show that is like so successful and trendy, a la Chip and Joanna Gaines. But what I'm peddling is like fully sustainable, like design and all the elements and all the realms that it includes, right? So, like Joanna Gaines and her shiplap. Shiplap is like the most popular paneling material, I think, in like the world. Like, why can't we? Because like the thing is, we need this platform. We need to have it. We need to get the education, like you're saying. And then this is my dream: is that we're going to have this TV show. I don't know the whole premise of it, but we're going to make it so freaking sexy and cool because it has to be cool to do something.
Mhm.
Otherwise, people are like, well, I mean, what's the incentive? It's going to cost more money, right?
Yep.
Why am I going to do this thing? So that's a dream. I have a dream.
I love it. I am going to
One day I
hope
will
that
realize
happens for you. I'm going to love it. That's totally
I
going to
want to
happen.
co-produce it though. Like, yeah, I want to have control. But I just think I'm just thinking all of us in our own little realm, like thinking of ways that we can make a difference. But I have this dream because I think that there is such opportunity to make a difference. And especially in the interior designers, because people look to us too as an authority, even if, you know, not someone can't afford to hire a designer. I think a lot of people who are like the average Susan in the population is watching on Instagram, follows multiple designers, follows the TV shows, whatever it might be, and is looking to us as the experts in magazines, right? Mm-hmm. In online articles. They're looking to us as the experts to guide them so they can do it themselves.
Exactly.
So there's such an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. And you're so right. Like, you don't necessarily have to hire a designer if, like, many people can't afford that or don't want to, or any number of reasons they don't hire a designer. And that's totally fine. But they should still be able to get the information about more sustainable resources. And so again, like, that's kind of up to us as designers if we use platforms like Instagram or whatever, or this podcast, you know, to really talk about what are options and how to do better. Mm-hmm. The other thing I was just thinking is like, so all these things seem really daunting, but I kind of equate it to like a 21-day diet fad, or like maybe probably at some point in your life you've like tried to cut out caffeine or meat or who knows what, bread, gluten, all the things, right?
Alcohol, all the things. Yep.
So you do that for 21 days, generally is what they say, 3 weeks. And the first few days are like miserable. You're about to like quit. It's so hard. And then you just kind of break through and you're like, wait a second, I actually have more energy without drinking coffee. I feel great without gluten. I don't need to drink, whatever your thing is, right? I don't care how you really live or what you choose to digest, but it's the same principle of like, if like you do something at the beginning, it's really hard and it's really daunting if you think you have to do everything all at once, which this is what I think is key. And what we tell our members and really try and communicate is that what we are trying to do with the GFDA is reduce our waste by 50% over 5 years. So we're never going to zero waste because that's false advertising. That's not possible. And we're doing it over 5 years. So that's like baby steps. That's like maybe 10% this year. And if you think about what could you do to reduce your footprint by 10% this year? Well, you could start sourcing 10% more locally, 10% more vintage. You could donate 10% more of your stuff to actual places like here in the US, the Goodwill is flooded. They're like, please don't give us any more. Because there's so much stuff. But there are plenty of places like youth centers, parent-teacher organizations, places that really take stuff. So you can do things like that. We're doing, the GFDA we're doing this great project of like with this local organization to revitalize a neighborhood. And so we're having a paint drive and reusing all of our exterior paint collectively from 200 plus members. And we're going to throw it up on the wall and beautify a neighborhood with the help of a local artist. But like things like that. So you're like, okay, I have 24 cans of exterior paint from projects. Why don't I donate them?
I was looking at them yesterday.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with all this? And I don't have it in me to take it to the dump.
No.
Or take it to where, I don't even know where to take it. It just sits there. It sits in my basement, sits in my office.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong. It's like really good paint.
Of course.
It's designer paint colors.
Yeah.
Yes,
and so
smart.
Like that's something we're doing. There are tons of things like that you can do. Like look around your house or your client's house and pick out pieces of furniture that are like really awesomely built and sturdy and great, maybe a little dated. Refinish the cushions or those pillows you're talking about. See if there are scraps from other projects. Like that's the thing too. It's like, this is an easy one. You have to buy minimum yardage from so many of these like popular designers, and good for them. I understand they have to like they have their reasoning for pricing that way. But rarely do you use all the yardage. I generally end up with like a yard or two extra. And so what I've been doing is just taking those to a local seamstress literally a few blocks away from me. It's super local production. She's awesome. She's making pillows of every single size. And then I like throw them onto things. I made like a piano bench cover from this, like just little bits. Mm-hmm. These are like, I'm mentioning these because these are like easy things to get you started. It's like on this 21-day thing, you like go from 3 cups of coffee to 2, to 1, to 0. So with this, it's like donate, buy repurposed, buy vintage, things like that, the low-hanging fruit. Once you integrate that into your life, then all of a sudden you've like reduced your footprint dramatically and you barely even noticed it. And I bet that your bottom line didn't change that much, because I know this because this is how I practice now. It hasn't affected my income at all. In fact, like if you buy a vintage anything, chances are, well, it might be a little bit more, but let's say you buy it, oftentimes things are much less. You can still mark up however much you need to and probably make more of your margin there than if you bought something new. You know, because that was
one of clients can't like shop you because it's a one at a time.
Right
now.
Exactly. So you name the price, whatever markup you need, because that was some feedback we got early on of like, well, I don't want to go out of business. I don't want to lose my markups. Totally understandable. We're not asking anyone to do that. We don't want to ruin people's lifestyles. But there's so much room for flexibility. And we've actually heard from many of our members that once they've gotten on the 21-day diet, like now it's super fun. And it's like, wait, I can like, I feel like a lot of designers get into like a rut and they're like, I don't even know where to source, right? Not always, but you go through these like peaks and valleys and you're like, oh, I'm bored, everything's stale, blah, blah, blah. But then you like reinvigorate it.
Can't find a nice nightstand anywhere. Nobody carries them.
Yeah, there's like all this junk out there. It's too expensive, whatever. And so this kind of like re-sparks the creativity. We've heard that from so many of our members. Like you would think that reducing the parameters and like saying that you have to be more sustainable, like, you know, somebody's reaction might be like to roll your eyes and be like, I can't have one more thing put on me, right? You have like a million responsibilities when you're running a business. But you can also reframe that story and be like, awesome, let's spend an afternoon like hunting around and probably going to come up with way more interesting stuff, to be honest. It doesn't mean you have to buy all of it from this vintage store. That seems unnecessary or excessive. But like a really nice blend of new and vintage is like, I think that's a beautiful design and is way more sustainable.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. You know, it's so interesting. When I first started talking about this, I think it was just before the pandemic was hitting. I'm like, I did a lot of like introspection, trying to figure out my brand and what differentiated me in the marketplace and how could I stand out. And one of the things that I kept coming back to is like, I care so much about sustainability, but I'm not talking about it. And even though I'm doing the little things, like you say, the low hanging fruit, I'm still not really even talking about it. So I started to talk about it. And a local designer who follows me, who I follow, who's a pretty big name here, sent me a DM on Instagram. And it was like, don't do that. What are you doing? People hire you because they want everything new. And I was like, whoa. First of all, who asked you? Freaking internet. And second of all, I totally disagree.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, oh, how fascinating that this person thinks that their value is in replacing everything. Yeah. Where have we gone wrong as an industry that we think that there's a value in getting everything new? Like you look at Architectural Digest, half of the high-end designers in there are using seriously expensive antiques.
Yeah.
So right. I don't know, maybe it's more of a Canadian thing because Canadians tend to be a little bit more like modern in their design aesthetic. And so they want new, spanking new things. But I just thought it was a really interesting comment, to which I obviously disagreed and politely said, thank you for your opinion. However, this is how I like to approach design. Yeah. We're all different and that's okay. But I agree with you. I think there's like, you can make it really unique, curated space. And half the time too, when I go to consignment stores, honestly, there's brand new things in there.
I know.
It's like brand new furniture that is contemporary, that somebody just moved, didn't want anymore. And so you're not always buying old people's stuff.
No, like I could thrift my clothes all the time. And like most of the time, I find brand new, really nice pieces at, a tenth of the cost. So yeah, there's like this misconception that I do think is changing because of the just evolution of humanity and the seriousness of the climate change. But like, there's this old sense that like anything in thrift stores, or if you shop vintage or anything like that, it's going to be, like you said, old and like kind of second tier. And that is so not true. Like, I mean, here in San Francisco, we have some amazing consignment stores, and I'm sure, like in all over the country there are, all over the continent. So
I went to the Brimfield antique market in Massachusetts a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with my sister, because she lives in Boston. And I was like blown away by the amount of stuff. Because like in the US, you guys just have a bigger population, there's more people, there's more stuff, right? And so I was so impressed with like the quality of the vintage furniture, the antiques, it was so amazing. And I just thought, I just want to drive to the US and buy all my stuff there and bring it back to Canada. There's a lot of great stuff out there if you really look for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. So what about are there any other tips that you could share for the designers that are listening who are like, I really care, I want to make a difference, it feels overwhelming, consignment or vintage or thrifting is great. Like what else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a few other things. And I should say, like, with the GFDA, like for members, they get like a ton of resources, but some of the ones that we talk a lot about is like, okay, so we've talked about vintage and thrifting and all of that. That's great. I would also really start to think like trying to take a deep dive into like materiality and like toxicity of the materials you're selecting. Because even that kind of change can make like a much healthier household for someone, whether they have kids or not. It's so focused on like healthy babies, but I think healthy adults is great too. So
you have to take care of those babies.
But, yeah, exactly.
Like being on the airplane, like, remember you put your oxygen mask on first so that you can help the little ones survive.
I know. I always think it's funny. Like, I mean, I get why it's geared towards babies, but like we still exist as humans too. So, that's great. I think also just like really starting to talk to clients about what they're like. Tell your client what you stand for. Like, this is how I practice. I am going to start integrating more sustainable practices into your home and into all of my projects, and really make that clear with your client. And chances are they're not going to like fire you for that. They might have a couple questions and might want to like, not do everything super eco, but probably they're just going to respect it. I mean, again, we are at such a point in time. It's different even than like 8 months ago. Like the planet is like on fire. It is like, it's on everything, right? Clearly there is so much chaos, and we just don't really have time to be like shy about this anymore. And so what do? You like think about what really needs to be done. Like, can you repaint something? Can you salvage baseboards? Can you look at, can you save light fixtures? Can you save the cabinets and repaint them or refinish them? Do you have to take everything out? Do you have to like really gut renovation everything? Like I keep seeing these comments of like gut renovation or these projects, and it's like, that's great. Some projects do require that, but probably most don't. And there are things that you can salvage on them. And I think that that's the direction we really have to go, is like salvaging more of existing buildings. That's on architects kind of. And then for designers, like thinking about where and how we source. It's like such a big opportunity. Like think of how many items you source for each project. Like my spreadsheets are like hundreds of items long. Right? And that's like if every single one of those things has to be produced and wrapped and wrapped again and wrapped a third time and then shipped and transported, like that's an enormous that's like just so much excess. And so if we can like scale that back and really think about like what we need versus what the brands are telling us we need, then, you know, and like, I get it. Like, we're all human. And yes, you fall like into the like, oh, I really want that. Like, maybe you afford yourself that occasionally, but we don't need every single new thing that comes out with the monthly catalog with hundreds of new products. I mean, that's so much.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable when you think about like in my own grandparents' era, they were still mending their socks.
Right. Yes.
And like not redecorating or refurnishing. I mean, there were still ways to make a home beautiful without totally removing and redoing everything. But I think too, a little bit, the onus is on the contractors, the remodelers. And I know that I myself as a designer, and I'm sure others can relate, have encountered resistance when I suggest, well, there's nothing wrong with these floors. Can we just refinish them? These baseboards are great. Can we salvage them? And a lot of the times, I would say more often than not, I get pushed back with, yeah, but there's probably not going to be enough, or actually it's going to be faster or cheaper just to replace it. Mm-hmm. That is the answer I get all the time, is that it is faster or cheaper to do something new. And so sometimes I just have to acquiesce for my client. And sometimes I will say, I don't care. Like if it's going to be like, how much more? And that's where I think sometimes as designers, we need to take ownership and ask those questions. Because I think oftentimes when somebody says to me, oh, it's just going to be cheaper. Great. Can we get the quotes and can we look at them side by side? Because sometimes when you actually add it all in, the labor to do the one thing, it ends up being a wash and it's not cheaper. It's just this $1 per square foot that we think, oh, well, it must be cheaper just to buy new because the $1 per square foot to refinish is this. But are you factoring in all the other things that go into it, like the labor to install, the labor to whoever's picking it up, the delivery costs and all of that jazz? Same thing with repurposing old baseboards and things like that. And so a part of it is getting, maybe we need like a list. Do you guys have this? Like a list of not necessarily certified, but like trades who are on the same page, like locally. Like I know there's something in the US where it brings like designers and remodelers together and the public can come and whatever. But maybe it's something like that where you've got to bring in, and like through, I don't know, maybe your organization has a way to connect people, but it'd be helpful to know in Toronto. I know of a couple builders, but who is open to and paying attention to the environment? Most people have no clue. They have zero education, and it's not their fault. They've been doing a trade forever. Yep. The industry's changing. They just want to get in and they want to get out. They want to do the job. They want to make their clients happy, and they want to move on to the next job. And that's when it comes to the renovation or remodeling aspect, that tends to be what we're up against, at least up here in Canada. And I know I'm about to build a farmhouse.
Yeah.
Like a crazy person. We're building an Airbnb. I really actually wanted an old house that I could renovate, like a beautiful old century farmhouse, but there weren't any in my price budget, in my price range. So we're building new, and the builder's great. He seems great, but it's just kind of this, I'm trepidatious because I want to go and I want to do it as smartly as possible, balancing my budget. And I don't want to get bullied, because that's really, let's face it, that's what happens. We get bullied by our vendors and bullied by our trades to do it the easy way, which is usually not the healthy way.
Yeah. Totally.
So I don't know. I mean, tell me more about this GFDA. Like, how do we sign up? What do we do? Sign me up.
Yeah. Great. We actually have a few other people in the Toronto area who have joined. So
maybe I know them.
Yeah, you might.
Have to name on the podcast.
No, we'll
I'll keep that private.
We'll talk offline about that. But so one of the things, just real quick on that point about contractors, is so like, again, my vision with the GFDA is to make it about the entire industry. So that means we're welcoming interior designers, architects, builders, landscapers, and product makers. Anyone of any size company, whether you're one person starting out in your first year or 500 people years in. We want you to join. And the reason we want you to join is because by joining, you're making a commitment to say, hey, I want to reduce my waste by 50% over 5 years. In exchange for that, we're going to give you, whether you're an architect or a designer, we have these tracks that you can follow. We give you resources. We give you talking points. We give you shopping lists. We give you redistribution resources. We give you networking opportunities. We give you like forums where you can network with each other and ask questions based on whether you're an architect wondering what to do with baseboards, or if you're a designer wondering like what to do with this polyester pillow that you have, right? For example. So we're really building this alliance across the industry to change. Well, the reason it's an alliance is because, like, again, we're all working together. So think like me or 100 or 1,000 interior designers, like really investing and making a difference is great. But then if you go to a job site and you get bullied by the contractor and they just throw everything out the window anyway into the landfill, then you're like, well, that was kind of all for naught. Like my client paid me more. The planet didn't win. Like we didn't get a more sustainable project, none of it. So that's why like we all really need to be working in tandem. And so part of the reason we do have all these, like we have a bunch of contractors and like it becomes a network where you can call like who is part of the GFDA, because if you hire someone or align with somebody on a project who's a member of the GFDA, they're going to care about this a lot more than probably somebody who's not in it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's incredible. I think this is exactly what we need. I mean, it's the first I've ever heard of anything like this. It's like, I keep saying like, there's got to be people out there doing this thing, but like doing it better than I am. I'm just talking about trying and like wanting to be able to connect with other people. And I don't see enough designers doing it. So I love that there's this opportunity for you to connect with its community, right? Like I talk about community all the time on my podcast, the power of whether it's a design community to talk about business, which is what I offer, right? Where you can connect with like-minded people to talk about business. This is like the same concept, like connecting with like-minded professionals who are interested in doing better, being better for the planet, and who actually care. And you know, I talk about this too in my marketing course, Momentum, but this, like, this isn't a reason to talk about the environment, but I think it's a bonus. If you care, shout it from the rooftops, because it's a great way to differentiate yourself and market your business. Yeah. With the added bonus that you actually can make a difference. And I think that, like you said, it's the right time in the world. People are paying attention. I think that clients value it. I will say in my own experience, it's rare that somebody finds me and comes to me because I care about the environment. But once they do find me and I educate them on how we try to be sustainable, because I have a little pitch deck that I use in consultations and I talk to that, They usually like that. They usually are either impressed, like you say, they respect it, or they say, no, that's really great. Like that's part of what I like about you. And it comes out there. So I do think that there is an openness to it, even if it's not actively being pursued right now by the general population. Yeah. Which is a good place to be.
Absolutely. You're so right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So much. We've run out of time. I don't know how that happened. So much to talk about. What? Okay, before we do all this sign off and tell people where they can find you, can you share maybe a little last nugget of wisdom with all these listeners?
Yeah, sure. Yes. So in this moment, so I like to think this last year with the pandemic really threw all of us. It was very hard, but think about what we were able to adapt to. We got used to putting our newspaper in the oven, like putting our groceries downstairs, putting our mail downstairs, putting our groceries downstairs, wearing masks, not hugging our friends, not seeing our family for years. We got used to all of that. So if we can adapt in that way, we can definitely adapt to this next huge request, which is that to adapt to to become more sustainable, to reduce our waste footprint, to question how much we're consuming, so that we can have a brighter future for us and our little ones, and all the animals on the planet. Like if we can survive the pandemic and adjust to everything that asked us to do, we can definitely adjust and meet this climate moment.
I love that. Yeah, I agree with you. If the pandemic has shown us anything, it's truly our adaptability as humans and that we can change our behavior.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Definitely. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So much more I want to talk about. We'll have to get you on an Instagram live when this episode airs.
Yeah, let's do it.
More and field questions from designers. I'm already thinking, I'm like, all the places I want you to come and talk. The designer meetups, we definitely need to do one there. I want designers to know about this. I
love that.
Because I think it's so powerful. It's so important. You know, designers are educating themselves when it comes to product knowledge in other areas, right? Everyone's getting their credits and they're trying to stay on top of their education. This is no different, right? It's learning and understanding. And part of that is joining a community of others and learning from each other. So I think it's awesome. Okay. So before we sign off, where can everybody find you?
Sure. Yes. So the Good Future Design Alliance, you can find thegfda.com. You can find us there, or you can find us on Instagram at the GFDA. And that'll take you to anywhere you need to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And do you guys ever do like in-person events or like talks or?
Yes.
Future? I mean, I know pandemic.
Pandemic. We had one successful in-person event so far because of the pandemic, and everything else been virtual. So, but we will get back probably in 2022. We'll start doing in person. But I do want to mention to save the date, November 12th, we are having our first virtual conference, which is going to be a one-day, about 7 or 8 panels with lots of amazing people. So we'll be like announcing that soon, but pencil that in, save the date. It'll be virtual, but it's going to be really good.
Awesome. Thank you. Because this will air definitely before then.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much
gosh.
for joining us, Katie. This has been really amazing.
Thank you. What a treat. It's been really fun. So thanks.
Okay. Well, Katie Storey, you found me at the right time in my life. You know, when they say things just happen for a reason, you know, people enter into your life at the right time. I really do feel that way about this organization because it feels like a little bit of a slog that I've been doing on my own, trying to talk more and educate myself more on sustainability. But it's been hard, like balancing running a business and like talking to my team, like, let's all educate ourselves. But of course, then we're just running to the next project and we haven't really taken the time to learn all the things. So I'm excited to dive into the Alliance and learn and gain information through them and connect with other like-minded designers and builders and architects. If you guys are interested in finding out more, obviously we will link that in our show notes. I hope you found this helpful. I know there are other designers out there who are like me, who see that change needs to happen, but don't know what to do. So guys, we're all in this together. We are going to start a movement. Mark my words. It may or may not be with a TV show, but wouldn't it be more fun if it was? That's it. That's all I have to say, guys.